Cool. I think we're live here. So, hey everyone, FusionEd coming at you. And today, going to be building kind of what you see in front of me here, a real-time paint meshing app. And this is inspired by Vive and Kingspray. I know there's like kind of a lot of controversy as far as those apps are concerned, but I still think it's a really cool way to do 2D art in VR. It's kind of like the 2D version of Tillbrush, which is super cool. And so yeah, pretty much what we have here, we got the color picker from last week's tutorial, and I've got the can here, and that's pretty much what we're going to be building. And you can see I already put an F on the wall there. So we'll see that it's actually pretty simple to build this, not terribly complicated because there are a lot of existing tools out there. So let me just quickly show you what we're going to be building. So I can just put the color picker here, go ahead, pick a color. I'm just gonna, let's go with the green. You can see we have like a really simple particle system that comes out of this. I haven't like fully optimized the distance, so like obviously like you can see right there, it's hitting the wall even though the particles aren't hitting it. Obviously, if I had a little more time, you can tune the distance of where it is hitting the wall. But you basically just go in, just up close here, just put in. Oh, as you can tell, I'm probably not the best the best graffiti artist out there, but yeah, you can go ahead, draw on a fusevr.com, and we've actually put in a height map on this, which you probably can't see. If you want to follow along and then build this wall, you'll notice that there is some parallax effect on the wall, which is really cool. And if I actually look straight over there, that's actually what's happening with the whoops. My Vive is being finicky. That's always fun. I've been having issues with my Vive recently. But yeah, over there is basically where the 3D painting is actually happening as far as like putting this on the wall. And I'll show that in more detail later on, but I left it in the scene just kind of for the purposes of showing that. You can tune it out later if you so desire. Abdo is not joining us today as far as if you have questions on 3D art, so you can put those in the chat, or if you want, put them in the question section of fusevr.com. But other than that, if there's no other questions, then we can get started learning how to build this. And I'm gonna just quickly pull up the chat here. And yeah, so the chat, if you're joining us on YouTube, chat's on fusevr.com, and you can join in as a guest, or if you have an account, then awesome, because that lets me actually know who's talking to who. And yeah, let's just kind of get started here. I'm gonna go ahead, close Unity, and as always, gonna start from a brand new project. So go up, fire up Unity again. I actually haven't updated to the latest version of Unity, and that's just for some other projects I'm working on. But let's just go ahead, click new. Let's call this Vive Spray Livestream. Just gonna go ahead and put that on the desktop. And for the purposes of this tutorial, just because I have already done the color picker in a previous version, I'm just gonna go ahead and take what we built last time and then move that into here, just to kind of avoid duplication of content, really. Unfortunately, I can't put that as like a completed package on our website, just because if I did, there are just kind of like some legality issues as far as like distribution is concerned. Like even if it is a free asset on Unity, and maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but from what I understand, I'm basically not allowed to redistribute other content that's from Unity. Well, let me know in the chat if you think that's the case or not. So as of right now, I'm not going to do that, but if someone can prove to me otherwise, like that would be ideal. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to get that simple color picker from last time, and I'm also going to get the Steam VR plugin. So both of those are really just pretty much all we need here. And actually, there's one more thing while that's updating. Let me just pull it up. So as far as like options for real-time mesh painting, you have this one here, which is the mesh. It's a free, both two free assets. So you have Mesh Painter. I haven't played around with this, but obviously, if you look at it, the first picture you see is like a very graffiti-like painting. So you already know you're off to a good start there. The other one is, which is the one I'd seen first before I found the Mesh Painter one, and this one's just called Real Time Painting, and I've recommended it to a couple people as far as painting for, or trying to emulate Vive Spray basically, but this is the one we're going to be using in this tutorial. It's called Real Time Painting. Get it off the Unity Asset Store, which I'm just going to do right now. This is called Real Time Painting. Just search for that really quickly, and of course it's not the first thing that comes up. Where'd it go? Okay, fine. I'll type it exactly how it wants me to type it. Real time painting. There we go. Unity needs to work on their search clearly. Let's go ahead and import that, and boom. So this one actually just kind of jumps into your resources folder, which is kind of strange. And yeah, it really does suck to find assets. Let's go ahead, accept all, because that doesn't happen by default. Not sure why. And just like in the color picker one, I'm just going to go ahead, create a folder for all the color picker assets because they decided not to move them into their own folder, which is fine. So there we go. That pretty much covers that there. Now, from what I just showed you at the beginning of this, I basically have already pulled over the scripts here. The thing I want to import in is basically this color manager, which is what I tweaked it a little bit from the end of that last video, so I'll show how that changed. And then also, oops, so yeah, so in color picker, I want to change the draggable script. That was the only thing we changed there. So I'm just going to go ahead, delete that, and go ahead, put that in here. So yeah, all the code changes are basically what I'm moving over. We'll have to do the prefab changes, which then I can talk about. But that's pretty much it for that as far as that's concerned. Gonna go ahead and for this texture painter, let me just show this off first and kind of explain how real-time mesh painting does work, just to kind of give you a sense of what's going on here. So this is what I was kind of hinting at before when I was in the Vive. This is kind of where that real-time painting actually happens. And so I'm just going to go ahead and hit play, just so you can see what's happening. But so what we have here is just the 2D version that we're going to port over to the Vive. And basically, I just click and I can go ahead and paint. There should actually have been, I think if I make this, yeah. So there is a color picker off to the side. I guess I just have to make it a little bigger as far as that's concerned. But basically, here's what's happening in the scene view. So what they're doing is they put another camera in the scene, and that you basically use this white area as a background, and they put a bunch of different sprites in front of it to basically emulate having those colors be overlaid on that background. Actually, if we click on what this camera sees, so yeah, so this is what the camera preview looks like down here in the scene view. So that becomes one texture that goes onto a render texture, which is basically kind of the way that you would do like mirrors or any way that you want to like take a point in one part of the scene and then map that onto a texture. So basically what happens here is this camera, it sees this white background and then this paint and then also this logo, I guess, and it maps that into a texture, and then that texture then in the same frame basically gets updated and put onto the whale in this case. And we're actually going to be starting with the whale as far as painting is concerned, and then upgrade it to the wall, which is I updated recently the download button on the website. So if you want to follow along with this, you can go ahead and download those assets. It's basically just the spray can and the wall and ground. So if you want to take a look at that, you definitely can. And so yeah, so that's pretty much as far as how this is working. That's how it's done. So obviously in a 2D scene where you just kind of have a fixed camera like this, there's no way for me to actually go and look to the right and see that there's another mesh happening here. But in VR you definitely can, which is what happened in the very beginning. So what you'll have to do is actually just kind of cull that out using layers. But yeah, so that's basically what's happening here. And so yeah, I can just kind of color it. And I think at some point, and this is, I think, a little bug with it. Yeah, there you go. So at some point, what ends up happening actually is it goes ahead and basically takes, for an optimization purpose, it basically takes all of those sprites that were here, and I think they use, I think, 1,000. Basically, once you reach 1,000, it basically goes ahead and maps those back into the background. And that, unfortunately, I think there's just some lighting issues. I think because of some of the ways that Unity changed, I haven't figured out a good way to get around it because it's kind of a big change, like from this like light green that it was before to this dark green. Not really sure what's happening there. I think from my understanding, it's like these sprites are responding to light, but the camera or like this texture isn't. It's something to do with lighting. I'm not entirely sure what the problem is. Just could be a bug in Unity, but that's just one thing. We're just gonna go ahead and disable that for this, which just kind of sucks, but yeah, what can you do? So yeah, so that's basically what we're gonna be using. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and copy this scene using Control D. Just drag that out to the assets. And we'll call this, let's just call it Vive Spray, because why not? We can reuse names. And so yeah, so that's pretty much that. We're just going to go ahead and open up the Vive Spray scene file that we just created. And I'm going to get rid of the GUI. And I think okay, so there's this main camera. Here, we don't even need that. So I'm just going to get rid of the camera pivot, and I'm going to add in my favorite prefab of all time, the camera rig. The camera rig from SteamVR, because that's always good. Just go ahead, go ahead and position it somewhere there. And let me just quickly check on this chat. Okay, cool. And yeah, also I'll just kind of point it out there, like I think one of the best things about the stream that I've noticed from just past streams is that it's just kind of a great time to chat with other developers, whether that be like asking questions here, or like talking to other people about potential projects you guys can work on. I think like I've seen a couple of people connect as far as like, hey, I'm working on this, I'm working on this, you have complementary skill sets, and boom, they're now working on a project, which is ultimately what I want to get out of these streams, is people working on really cool projects. So just thought I'd throw that out there during this. And so yeah, so and yeah, I guess to prompt that, I guess I guess here's a question I want to see in the chat. What cool projects are you working on? Let me know in the chat, because I think that's something I really want to know, and you'll see later on in the stream when I kind of take a break to let people catch up. I'm going to show a project someone shared with me that they worked on after seeing my streams. So I thought that was really cool. So let me know. I love to see that. And so yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there right now. But getting back to this. So what we're going to do is let's just add the color picker in really fast. So that's actually really easy to do. And so what we're going to do is, first thing, add in that laser pointer. I'm just going to make it red because you can just see red a lot easier. Then I'm going to go ahead, add in prefab, color picker prefab. It's gigantic. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Why is it all of a sudden red? That's not right. Oh well. As you can see, kind of huge, I'm going to drop that down to like 0.05, 0.05, 0.05, and drag that into the model. And we'll just go ahead and drag it, but rotate it 90 degrees just to, actually even then it's huge. Go ahead, put that there. Paperboy. Oh, Paperboy. Is Paperboy like Super Mario or Super Paper Mario? Because that's something I really want to see in VR. Paper Mario for VR, like minus Dolphin VR's plugin. I think like that would be so cool. So yeah, just gonna go ahead, shrink it down a bit more. 0.01, 0.01. That might have been too much. Let's go 0.05. So yeah, okay. So this looks about right. There we go. It's not red anymore. I don't know why it changed red all of a sudden. Okay, so because I deleted that draggable script, it's complaining on both these guys that it's missing draggable. So I'm just gonna go ahead, put that in there. And so for the hue picker, this one is fix X. So that's fine. And then for so now for the draggable script, I'm just going to select both and drag on the right controller. And we need to also add in a min bound, which is what we did last time. I should have just created a prefab, that would have saved time, but it's all right. And just go ahead, copy the thumb component, paste that value in there. Same, let's just call this guy min bound. Let's call this min bound. Same with the saturation picker. Let's call this one min bound. And we'll just set it to the thumbs. Oops. We'll set it to the thumbs transform. Again, like I'm just kind of going really fast through this simply because we did this in last week's video. So just trying to get it set up as fast as we can. I think that pretty much, oh yeah, I now actually have to move min bound onto this transform. Also have to set up the thumb component on the hue picker, and then same deal with the thumb onto thumb, min bound onto min bound. Perfect. So that pretty much should do it for the color picker, assuming I set the scale right. And the only other thing we need to add is the color manager. I'm just going to drag and drop that in here. So let me just quickly show what changes I made to the color manager from last time. So last time I, just for the sake of like speed in that tutorial, I didn't make color manager a singleton, but now went ahead, added the singleton variable in here. And just to quickly recap what a singleton is, it's basically a way to make a class like the color manager accessible. It's accessible at all times by assuming that it always exists. That's like probably the best way of describing it. So you just added in the awake and on destroy methods. On color changes the same. I had to copy in the HSV to RGB method. This is actually something that's in their scripts already, but when you use on color change and want to apply that to whatever material you want, you need to convert it from an HSB color to just a unity color, and so this method does that. So that's pretty much the only things that changed there. So now as a singleton, we can access whatever the current color that the color picker chose. So that's pretty much all the changes that happened in the color manager. Yeah, again, this method here is available as part of that simple color picker method. And so yeah, there we go with that. And so let me just go ahead and close that. We have the color picker, and let me just go ahead and test it at this point. Just make sure that we are selecting a color and everything is working the way we want it to. So I'm just really hoping my Vive doesn't die during the course of the stream. Oops. And of course it, come on. VR. I know. Oh, wait, I did add the camera rig in, but it's not going into the Vive. Interesting. It's not even selecting. This is a first, that it doesn't automatically respond to the Vive. Is that bugs that are causing that issue? This is a first. Editor only player settings. Please initialize. Okay, you know what this probably is? This is probably that simple bug where you need to re-import SteamVR. That's probably the easiest way to do it. I'm just going to go ahead, delete SteamVR. Let's go ahead, do that. This is why you test often and consistently, because otherwise you build everything and then all of a sudden it doesn't work, and then you're like, wait, what? Yep, okay, that's fine. It's basically Unity. That's a Unity bug or a SteamVR bug. I'm not really sure where that comes from, and I just know that sometimes you just gotta restart Unity and then it magically works. If anyone knows why that happens, I would love to know. And yeah, of course it didn't save the scene. Of course it didn't. Of course it didn't. All right. Well, in that case, we're just gonna, I guess, have to redo derp. So much derp. So much sad time derps. All right, I'll just redo it really fast. We're gonna want the prefabs camera rig. And at this point, I'm gonna save, and I'm going to make sure it works in VR. All right, there we go. That works. We know that works now. So now just go ahead and actually just add that color picker in really, really fast. Like faster than I've ever added a color picker in my life, which isn't terribly fast. Okay, that rotate it down by 90 degrees and add the color manager script onto it. And also, yeah, if you have suggestions for future streams, you can add them to, while I'm doing this, you can add them to the forum suggestion. Been going through and just trying to get through them as fast as I can. Obviously, we're kind of scrapped on time, so it's just kind of this weekly slow process here. But definitely, I am looking at them, and any suggestions are highly valued. Whoops. So yeah, well, let us know, and we will try to get to them as soon as we can. Also, I found out today was Dreamcast's birth, or I guess 17th birthday, if you want to call it a birthday. So that was super cool. And I think someone on Reddit posted like they wanted to see a Dreamcast tutorial. So let me know what your favorite Dreamcast game is, because I think mine is, I mean, not having played many, it's Sonic Adventures. Kind of a giant Sonic fanboy, but yeah, I would be curious. I've thought about like what like how you would actually go about making like an arcade type of style tutorial, I guess, for like something like the Dreamcast or like any really arcade. So let me know what you guys like as far as that's concerned. I don't know if necessarily all of them like apply to VR, but still I think there's stuff you can do with it, which is I think really cool. And this one, min bound. Oops, that's what happened to it. Let me bounce back to the chat. I was like, where did my chat go? And then it's like, oh, you got replaced in my browser. All right, almost have the color picker back again. And then this time I'll actually remember to save, because that's pretty important. Alright, so that should be everything. Save. Okay, now let's try it. And there goes my Vive. I'm so sad. But where's this controller? Alright, so let me go ahead, maximize this. Okay, cool. Okay. Oh, that's wrong direction. Just go ahead, and for the hue picker, it's not fix X, it's fix Y. Alright, now let's try that. I need to add the laser pointer in. But yeah, alright, cool. So we're now successfully taking in the color, which is what I wanted to be, where I wanted to be a lot sooner, but that's fine. I'll add in the laser pointer just so that we can see where exactly we're picking. But for using multiple colliders on a single rigid body, yep. Yeah, so as far as multiple colliders on a single rigid body, is there anything specifically? So yes, you can do that. I've used it. Oh, did I use it in a tutorial? I know I've used it before, especially if I think I used it in the arrow tutorial, but that might not be true. But I know like the one ways that I think I used it in climbing. But one thing you can do is like have a collider that represents kind of like the bounds of where you want physics to interact with it, and then you can have another collider that's maybe bigger that represents having the is trigger, and then the is trigger will absorb the is trigger event, and then the other one won't. So you can use it like that. That's probably the best way that I've used multiple colliders. If you're talking about like for skeletal meshes, I'd say if you have like a skeletal mesh with hierarchies of like where the bones are and how they affect your skin mesh, you can go ahead and basically just add colliders to each bone and then have one rigid body at the parent node. So like if you had collider here, or sorry, rigid body here, and you have like these are all your child objects, you could add rigid bodies to those, and I think all of those physics will then just get applied to the rigid body. So let me know if that helps as far as that's concerned. But yeah, so at this point, have the color picker, have the color manager in, so everything's hooked up as far as that's concerned. So now just going to go ahead and let's go to our resources. What we're going to do is basically everything in this scene is controlled by, I may have deleted it on the GUI picker, but oh no, it's here. Everything in this scene as far as painting is concerned is controlled by this texture painter, and it controls basically like where you're painting, what's getting painted, where are objects in relation to one another. So that's all controlled here, and this thing is located in like resources texture painter scripts. So I'm actually just going to go ahead, duplicate that, and drag it up to the top. And we'll just go ahead and rename that Vive texture painter without the 1. And let's just go ahead and open that up. So once that opens, we just have to, oops, of course it doesn't jump to that right away, but we can get rid of this because we don't need the enum anymore because it already exists in the texture painter. So we just have to make sure our class name stays the same as our file name. And a bunch of public variables here. I'll go over those in just a second. But Yeah, okay. Well, one thing I basically want to do is so with the texture painter, there were actually, here, let me go ahead and put that back in first just to explain it. But there are basically two modes. There's the paint mode, which is what we're going to be using, and they also have a decal mode, which is basically if you have a sprite like that. So where is that? So basically, if you wanted to like apply a sprite here without and like kind of multiply put that on whatever object you want, you could just have that sprite and then switch to decal mode, and then that'll put that there. But we don't want to do that as far as this is concerned. It's kind of almost like the difference between painting versus a tattoo, or like a peel off tattoo, is kind of the way I see it. So we're just going to be sticking to painting, not decal. So go ahead and basically anytime in our thing that we see paint, we're basically just gonna keep the paint mode and then get rid of whatever it's decal. So just go ahead, get rid of, oops, there we go, rid of all this. I'm gonna keep it indented for now just so I remember where it is. I think that was it actually. Oh, the brush mode, we want it to be sprite equals brush mode. We don't, oh yeah, we just want cursor. Actually, we don't even need that line, honestly. I'm just going to set this to cursor paint for now. We'll end up actually deleting it, but still, that's just for getting rid of all of the decal stuff. Like we can do that. Oh, we actually just need to, yeah, we just need to go all the way to here. Get rid of that, and I think that's it, other than comments. Yeah, cool. All right, so that just cleans up that code a little bit. And so let's just kind of start from the basics. So here, what we're going to want to do is we're not using the color selector anymore. So we're going to be using our custom color manager dot instance dot get color. What did I call it? Oh, I just had it as color. And so if you want to follow along with this and you don't have the color manager in just yet, you can just put this to like color.blue, and just for the sake of following along, just so you don't even have to worry about the color picker part. We're just gonna go ahead, get rid of that. And so the next thing is this input.getMuffs button 0. And for that, what we're going to need is a reference to our SteamVR controller. And specifically, I'm just going to be doing the right controller, just for simplicity's sake. And, sorry, not controller. This is tracked object, our controller. So that's the right controller there. And again, just like always, because I can never remember this line of code, there are a few modules that make it easier, but it's not a terrible amount of lines of code. So it's extras, test throw. And so let me just, while that's opening, let me quickly check in here. So I wanted to make a game object where different parts of the object react differently when they collide with other objects. Whenever I attempt to have multiple colliders, I always run into errors. Oh, I see. Different parts of the object react differently. In that case, you actually probably want multiple rigid bodies attached to like different either bones within your mesh, or you're gonna want just to set up multiple different game objects within one parent object, and then that should allow you to define the colliders with different sets of rigid bodies that all interact differently once they are hit, basically. That's probably, I think, the best way about doing it. Let me know what type of errors, and then we can see if me or someone else can like figure. I think. Oh wait, JFL can also answer this. Yeah. Also, yeah, it's just kind of playing around with like, yeah, not knowing the errors. I'm not really sure what what's causing it, but yeah, it's I think playing around with probably different ridge body setting that is kinematics or colliders properly, multiple colliders properly will help with that. So yeah, that's that. And so yeah, at this point we have that test throw, so I can just copy my favorite line in the world, which is these two lines here for getting input. And I'm just gonna go here, paste that in, and instead of the mouse button, just get rid of this, get rid of the joint detection, because we don't need that, and then just set this to our controller. Cool. So that's get touch down. We actually just want it on touch, which is the same as what that mouse button is doing. And so yeah, so then if we press whatever we define as the right controller, it'll go ahead and do action, which is basically ping. So yeah, so that's pretty much the only major update we need to do. Update. I actually don't even think we need this update brush cursor. Yes. Painting cursor. Yeah. So this is to actually have a specific cursor on your mesh, which we don't need. So we can go ahead and I think just ignore that. So I'm just going to comment that out for now. So the next step is basically detecting in going into do action. So there's the saving, which is that texture saving that I showed at the very beginning. So we'll go ahead and disable that in a little bit. So then they have the UV world position, and then they have a hit test UV position. And so that's a custom method that they built, and that comes down here. So this is doing a raycast, and lucky for us, so this is, we don't even have to worry about with this mouth stuff, so we can actually just kind of comment both those lines out, and then do vector 3 cursor pause, just to keep the names the same, even though we don't have to. And this is just going to be a new ray, not random ray, that goes from our right controller dot transform dot position. And for this specifically, so we had the laser kind of pointing out here, and so on your Steam VR controller, this is forward, this is up, and I forget which way is front and back. I think this is front. But we're going to be wanting to paint out here, basically. This is where, when we add our spray can, this is where the spray is going to come out. So basically kind of holding your can like this and then just kind of spraying. So this direction is basically down. And so by default, there actually isn't really a down per se, but you do have an up. And so what we can do is just say rcontroller.transform.up and just put a negative on that. And why are you complaining? Transform this game object, no, if there's none touch. Ray 2. Oh, we need to call this array. This is cursor. We actually don't need that vector 3. Let's just call this cursor array. So that basically covers the ray cast. They use 200 for their max distance. We're going to define that just as a variable, and actually we really only need 1. I'm just going to set this to 1 for now, because you're painting generally pretty close to where your actual wall is. And I think that pretty much does it as far as like detecting the ray and then sending the right UV world coordinate to it. The other thing, actually, we'll change the saving component a little later, but basically at this point, if you are 1 unit away from or 1 unit is 1 meter. So if you're 1 meter away from that wall, you can now spray onto it. So we have that in, and we can actually at this point just kind of try it out. I'm going to need to move this guy closer just so that I'm actually painting as opposed to as opposed to like not painting. But let's go ahead and try that out. Come on, buddy. There we go. And the Vive is dead. That's always fun. All right. Well, I'm gonna reboot. Actually, no. I'm just gonna show it and then reboot. So let's go ahead and hit play here. Yeah, there's nothing in here, but I think at this point I have. All right. Just go ahead, switch these up. Let me make this a little bigger. I'm getting a new Vive soon, so hopefully that should replace the buggy issues I'm having with this Vive on this stream. But okay, so just go ahead, pick a color here, pick a color there, and then, oh, you know what I didn't do? The super important part, which is actually put your texture painter into the scene. That's a thing. So instead of this texture painter, we're just going to go ahead and remove that. We want to add in our Vive texture painter, and we need to assign all these variables. So these variables are right controller, brush cursor we actually don't need, so I'll go ahead and clean this up right now, but we can assign it. We can assign brush cursor, we can assign brush container is somewhere in here, brush container. Scene camera is gonna be, we actually don't need the scene camera, so I'll get rid of that. We do need the canvas camera, so I'm just gonna apply that in there. We need the cursor painter. So that's a material we actually don't need, so I'm gonna ignore that. Same with the cursor to call. We do need the canvas texture, so that's gonna be in here somewhere. I believe it's this guy actually. Yeah. So let's click texture painter. This goes onto here, and then oh, we do need the cursor paint. Sorry, we need to go into sprites for our brush texture. That's gonna be this guy going onto here. And the last one is the base material, which is, I believe, under materials. Yeah, there we go. So that pretty much covers that. And let me just, since we're here, might as well just go ahead and clean it up. So we actually don't need that decal stuff anymore. We don't need the scene camera because the scene camera was used for the raycast from where you click on the screen to where the model is. But since we're doing it with the controller, we don't need that anymore. We don't need the cursor. I'm just going to get rid of that. And we do need the cursor paint, I believe. Brush cursor that overlaps the model and our container for the brush cursor for different functions. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we don't need that one. And yeah, that should pretty much do it for that. Let this. We need to get rid of a bunch of errors. So basically, getting rid of the brush cursor. Yeah, this is all for the brush cursor, so we can just delete this method because we don't need that. The brush cursor was basically, actually, I was about to sit down and I was like, nah, never mind. Brush cursor was basically the circle on the mesh that let you see where you're about to paint. In VR, you don't really need that, which is nice. I think, yeah, again, don't comment out those lines as far as this is concerned, just because we're not using the brush cursor anymore. Yeah, that pretty much does it. I think, yeah, we don't have any errors. Yeah, they're all done. They're all done. So let's go ahead. Oh, Vive decides to work now. That's awesome. So let's go ahead, quickly pick a color. And as you can see, yep, we are now painting, albeit super big, on our, and perfect. Vive decides to crash there. But yeah, So as you can see, got some really basic painting going on as far as painting our whale. So that's really cool. Um, oops, there we go. Cool. So while we have this playing, I'm just gonna quickly go here. As you can see, we have the paint going on our render texture over here, and then that just gets applied to the whale. So very basic things as far as updating our whale is concerned. So that's awesome. And I'm going to reboot my Vive right now because the display decided to crash. Yeah. Thanks for the shout out, Jay Falcon, and that's a good call. Is that you can use Visual Studios. I was using MonoDevelop for a long time. I still not really sure why Visual Studios over MonoDevelop, but I am using Visual Studios now after I started moving into that. Let's see what else. Yep, cool. So hopefully the Vive is better after my reboot. But yeah, so we can now paint on our whale with the Vive controller. How cool is that? So while I'm remembering this, I'm just gonna add in that laser pointer right now because that got deleted when the scene got deleted, which was sad times. And then save to make sure none of the crashing sad times happen. But that pretty much does it there. We can now basically what we're going to need to do. So the thing that really makes graffiti painting in VR work, or like graffiti painting in general, is that you basically the closer you get to a wall, the more spray, I guess, gets applied in a concentrated area. So, and then the further away you are, that allows you to kind of create a wide, broad stroke, but a lot of the material is being spread across that area, so it kind of looks a little fainter. So let's go ahead and add that in, and it's actually not terribly complicated to do. First thing I'll do actually before we do that is just kind of get rid of this texture optimization here. It's valuable. It's really valuable if it worked right, but it doesn't, sadly. I still need to dig into why that's the case. I'm not really sure, but sad times are sad. And so next thing I want to do is, I think this is also another bug in their plugin, but they set their alpha after they set the color of the sprite that they render. And I think you do need to actually set the alpha before you set the color here. So I'm just taking that alpha line, which we'll use in just a second, and putting it above the brush color. So next thing I want to do is in here, I believe, where do I set the size? Yeah, this guy. So this is setting brush size, but do I set that? Where's brush size getting set? So there's a set brush call here. Oh, right. Okay. So there's a set brush call. We actually, so that set brush call is being used by the GUI in the previous scene. So that's why they made it a public variable and they don't do any setting of the brush size here. We're actually going to go ahead and set the brush size because we want that to be based on like how close we are to what we hit. And to do that, we actually need to do that right when we do the raycast because that's when we're getting the information we need. So I'm just going to go ahead, create some space there. And for that, we're basically going to say, just the really basic one is set brush size based on hit dot distance. And what I'm actually also going to do is go ahead and define a public constant. And that public constant is basically public const float max distance equals 1f. And so that max distance is just so that the code looks a little cleaner. I'm going to use that here for the raycast, and we're also going to use it in the set brush size. So the reason we're doing that is because we want the brush size to be a value between 0 and 1, and 0 being super close and 1 being super far away. So by basically dividing by max distance, whatever max distance is, they could be like 0.5, could be 100, could be whatever you want it to be. But basically doing that will normalize your data when you divide by hit.distance. So that's what we can do there. And basically, once we do that, we have a very simple way to basically control like how close and far you get from the wall. So we can test that out. It, I'll be honest, does not look good. It's having a linear scale isn't optimal. So what we are going to do, I actually just have the code here, so I'm going to just wait, this one's for alpha. Actually, I'll keep this one linear, but I'll show you for the alpha, which we have here. This isn't by far, by like any means, like the perfect code for this, and I think this just needs a lot more tinkering to get the right effect for what you want. But what I have here is basically setting the alpha again based on the brush size and like how far you are from that wall, and having it as an an inverse exponential curve. So basically, it'd look, I think the fall off is like this, if I remember correctly. So the smaller the value, you have a small drop off, and then the bigger the value, as you get closer and closer to 1, you get a bigger drop off. And in this case, 1 is 150. I was just using 150 as a scaling value. Again, like this formula can change as far as like what you actually want to have happen, but I think this looks pretty decent as far as that's concerned for what J Falcon basically said in the chat, which is having that drop off occur as the further you get away, the more your spray is dispersed. So that's what I would do for the alpha. For the size, you can have it linear. You can have it pretty much be whatever you want, really. I think I didn't play around with that value all that much, but that's also just something. Both those are like basically the places that I would want to play around with the size the most. Just simply because that will get the feel of whatever you're painting really good. So at this point, we can try it out really. So let me just jump into here. Hopefully my Vive hasn't died again. There we go. Yeah, that looks right. Turn on my other controller. We've got the laser pointer in here. And I want my other controller. There we go. So just go ahead, set these guys up. And so if I like kind of, I think this is, no, so this is in I must have messed something up as far as distance is concerned. We have index out of range. What distance? I thought that's what I was using for distance. We can actually just go ahead and manually set this, but well, one thing, just to like double check that the size is right, we can just need to get this index back in. But yeah, as you can see here, we are creating brushes, but I think they're just really small. So if I jump into, here, yeah, they're like really tiny, just based on those values. Yeah, you can't even see the sprite. That's how small it is. Let's actually go ahead, change let's just play around with the scale a little bit just to make sure the values are the ones we want. We can easily play around with, like, say, I don't know, add 0.5 to here, and let's ideally it should just work there. So we have a bunch of clones again, super tiny. Let's just go ahead let's just add one. Worst case, if I can't remember those numbers, I can just go ahead and get them really fast. Yeah, this is just way too tiny. All right, let me just quickly look up. What was the exact number I used, because yeah, again, it's just a matter of, like, playing around with what looks good and then making it super polished, and that playing with those numbers, like, will take a lot of time unless you're like a graffiti expert and know exactly how all of that math works, which good for you if you do, because that is no easy feat by any means. So we had it in here, assets, and I had it in here. So let me just quickly find that number out as soon as my mono develop decides to open. And so what I did, I actually made it smaller. Interesting. But, well, might as well just go ahead and put that value in, because that looks decent. And instead of max distance, okay. And for max distance, yeah, I was just using 1F there. So, yeah, okay. So let me just, now this is what I used. I thought it was too small, but maybe it was way too big. That's the thing. Alright, maybe I can do this thing down now. And that is gigantic right next to me. And still painting. Interesting. Why is that not getting applied? The color is set. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything else in the code I wrote before. Brush counter. I set that. Brush. Everything else stayed the same. Yeah, everything else stayed the same. Why are you not getting rendered? That is interesting. Let's see. Let's just call this 5 by 5 by 5. Oh, you know what it probably is okay. So what I used. So I actually changed. Okay, so this is what happened. When I was playing around with this, I actually changed the sprite. Yeah, that's what happened. So I was using it. So here, what we use. So if you take a look at this brush texture, it's actually like a really faint texture. And what I actually ended up using is, I just Googled this. You can Google it, but in not in Vive Sprite, in your resources here, sprite. What I did was I just took a just plain white circle clip art. You can find those online. Really, you can probably find the exact same one online actually. But yeah, you can just go ahead, take that, apply the transparency, and then just make it a sprite. So again, apply that there. And in this Vive texture painter, I'm just going to go ahead and drag the sort of brush texture. I'm going to drag in plain white circle texture. And so with that, in theory, still no? Why is the size so let's make this 5 by 5 by 5. See if I can still see it. So that's really strange that the code is exactly the same and I still can't see it. But that's, oh wait, did I see something? Yeah, it's really faint. Okay, so let's maybe, yeah, what we can do is take this opacity and just make it 1 here and just see, or I think it's 0, but that might be the reason. Oh, is opacity getting set somewhere else? That could be a thing. But I'm kind of don't recall running into these issues. Yeah, let's see. I set, oh, didn't update the code. Classic. Save that. Sprite render, all of that stayed the same. All right, let's try this. Okay. The joys of debugging. All of that set correctly. What is the sprite it's using? It's using a default. Oh, it's not even using the right sprite. Ah, here it is. So in this, we actually want to use, sorry, we want to use, no, I'm using the right value. That's what I used exactly. Why is, good old debugging time. Let me see if someone in the chat spots something I'm doing egregiously wrong. So this one's actually still using the brush texture. Okay, so that's interesting. Okay, so resource load. Oh. So this is resources, load, texture painter, instance, brush entity. Texture painter, brush, texture painter instances here. Okay. So here, I actually want to change it to, let me change this to that. Oh, wait. That's saved. Yeah, okay. So let's try this and see. There we go. Now I can actually see something. So that's it. So what we had to do was just we added in a sprite that's just a white circle with a transparent background, and I'm just changing the brush entity, which I forgot that they were loading here. I'm not really sure why then they had the sprite that we also used. Yeah, one of the tricks of just using someone else's code, right? But yeah, as you can see, that was painted there, so I can now go back in, and I'm just going to add this back in, this exponential drop-off. And that should do it, in theory. Let's just get this here. Yep, there we go. Whee! You can paint even without the Vive headset. There you go. So that's painting the whale. And you can see we have a bunch of brush entities here. They're all spawning on this texture. One thing I'll recommend as far as this is concerned, so if we go into here, they use 124 by 124. For VR specifically, I'd like this to be a much bigger value so that you avoid a lot of the aliasing issues. Is registration down? I don't think so. I think some people were registering before the stream, but I don't know if it's just being slow. That could be an issue. But yeah, let me know if you're able to, because yeah, That sounds like a problem. But yeah, so just make sure set the size right, set anti-aliasing right. We're just gonna do a ARGB 32, and actually, yeah, no, we'll keep ARGB 32. Painting the we are painting the whale. It's only in VR will you say that. And that's so true, because you would never paint a real whale. And we have just painted the whale. There we go. And yeah, we can, if I just kind of hop into the Vive right now. Oh, I'm like really next to it, but I can just kind of go in, add some red, paint here, paint there, paint everywhere. I don't know why I call it. As you can tell, again, I am not an artist. As much as I want to be an artist, I'm not an artist. Yeah. It's funny though, like especially when I tried the Vive for the first time and I tried Tilt Brush, I was just like painting everywhere, experimenting with everything, but they then at the end of it, it's like I have this like gigantic mess, and it's like, yeah, we're now gonna leave your masterpiece and or erase it, and I'm like, what? What masterpiece? It's a bunch of garbage. But I was fine with that. Getting my art called a masterpiece for a day. That's still pretty cool. So yeah, that pretty much is painting the whale. And so yeah, we're about an hour in, and I don't know how much longer my Vive is going to live on me. I'm actually, yeah, if you followed me on Twitter, you would have seen I won the Mind Show raffle for their Vive, and they're sending it to me soon. So hopefully by next stream should not have issues with the Vive, and I might have to send this in for repairs or something. I think something's wrong with the screen is the issue. But let me know in the chat. So I'm gonna take a break now just to kind of have people who are following along, they can kind of catch up. But if you have questions or about anything, like put those in the chat, and then after the break, I just kind of want to show off here what these guys have built in their short demo. It's not short, in their beta version of Skyjack, which is these guys have been following us on YouTube for a while now, and I think it's like it's still a beta
Hey
version,
there!
so
Welcome to Skyjack. Please hold your applause. When you're ready to start your epic, jaw-dropping, mind-blowingly insane, awe-inspiring adventure, stick that laser in my eye for a few seconds. Don't worry, I'll be fine.
And show this to you guys as something like you can.
Or you can just sit here. Hey, whatever tickles your fancy.
And it's absolutely amazing. Like as far as like art assets are concerned, come on. There we go. So I think the start here is a little finicky. Also, the chair is right in the way.
Whatever floats your boat.
So actually, I need to put in headphones also. So yeah, like I said, there's still a few bugs as far as this is concerned, but like for like
whatever cracks your egg.
But like I don't think they've been working on it for terribly long. So let's see. I got audio. Maybe let's try this out. All right. So to start.
Whatever seasons your taco.
And in here. This part's been a little finicky for me, but come on, buddy. Eat the laser. Might have to restart just to get this part working.
Whatever pickles your cucumber.
So I don't hear sound. Let me quickly restart. I feel like that's more of a Vive problem, like my Vive problem, as opposed
Hey there! Welcome to Skyjack. Please hold your applause. When you're ready to start your epic, jaw-dropping, mind-blowingly insane, awe-inspiring adventure, stick that laser in my eye for a few seconds. Don't worry, I'll be fine.
Let's start.
Or you can just sit here. Hey, whatever tickles your fancy.
Well, buddy, you can start the experience. Otherwise, I'm just gonna play around in here. I really want to show people, because even playing around in here is fun.
Whatever floats your boat.
Come on, I know you're the start. Yeah, sometimes just try all different verticals to get this thing started.
Whatever cracks your egg.
So once you get started. Alright, well, let's just play around in here, because, oh, and there goes my Vive. Oh, sad time.
Whatever seasons your taco.
By next stream, this will definitely be fixed. But, like, they've added in, like, a bunch of cool particle effects, but, like, I guess, clearly I'm not showing this now. Which is sad. I really wanted to show it off. But I'll make a separate video on showing it off.
Whatever pickles your cucumber.
The gist of it is you get to fly around in a jetpack and fight off some robots. It's like this nice
I really hate cucumbers.
Between Land's End and like a what other game would I mix it in? Not really Space Pirate Trainer, but like you're fighting off robots. I think the art assets were really well done for this.
Okay, I'm bored now
because my Vive is being annoying. As much as I want to show it off, but it sucks. So I'm just gonna close that. What magic are you doing with the audio here? J Falcon. What magic are you talking about? Because did you hear the? I'm wondering if you guys were probably able to hear the audio, but I don't think I've mirrored it properly. But I'm interested to know what type of magic you think I'm doing, because that would be cool. But yeah, actually, you can probably tell I haven't updated yet, and for whatever reason, Steam doesn't like connecting to the internet when I'm at Stanford, which is sad. But yeah, well, we have a few options as far as just if there are random questions that pop up. Like yeah, they don't even have to be about Vive script in particular. One question that might pop up is like how you do this for like other models, and you just kind of you need a mesh collider for the physics. You need a render material on that model. So like here they just have a canvas material, and they've set the albedo, they've set the metallic, and oh, well, I have the audio mirrored, so he will be talking to you, but apparently because my Vive is broken, it's not talking to me. So that's the magic I pulled off. I did put the laser in his eye, but unless the eye was something else I'm not looking at, or it was a different eye. Let me try it.
Hey there! Welcome to Skyjack. Please, hold your applause. When you're ready to start your epic, jaw-dropping, mind-blowingly insane, awe-inspiring adventure, stick that laser in my eye for a few seconds. Don't worry, I'll be fine.
That's not his eye, that's not his eye.
Or you can just sit here. Hey, whatever tickles your fancy.
Unless there was something else. But I do have a laser.
Whatever floats your boat.
This like works sometimes, but not all the time. Just sad. and minor bug. Hopefully it gets fixed soon, and then I can actually show it off.
Whatever cracks your egg.
That's just, there are always bugs when you go live, right? He needs to play with it. I think you were supposed to point the laser in the sign, not Jeff. No, but like when I've tried it before,
Whatever seasons your taco.
But let's see. All right. Let's get this one more time. All right. I'm pointing it in his eye. Maybe.
Whatever pickles your cucumber.
My controller here loses tracking.
You know, I really hate cucumbers.
Nope, nothing there. But here? Anywhere? Come on, buddy. I want to show cool jetpacks. Stab.
Okay, I'm bored now.
You can still stab him. But it's not, yeah. Oh, and there goes my Vive. Sad times are sad. Oh well. Think outside the yellow button. Eye on the wall. Find the right.
Would you just start it already? Come on.
We need to go. Think outside the yellow button. I've tried. I was like pointing outside the yellow button. I tried that. The times I've gotten it to work, it's that yellow dude, and he says "ow." It's awesome, and damn, I really wish I could show it off, but alas. But yeah, I think. Oh, nice. Hey, Carl. And yeah. Oh well. Well, I'll get a video out on it. Hopefully this week, and then show it working. Assuming my Vive core, like as soon as I get, yeah. Here's what'll happen. As soon as I get my Vive from Mindshow, I'll post a video on that, and then I'll also post a video on Skyjack, because both of those are really cool. And yeah. Things never work when you go live. But yeah, let me know. Yeah, I guess it's I feel like a lot of people are on vacation, like right before I guess school starts, which makes sense. But yeah, I still think Vive Spray is pretty cool. So why the clues, like breaking a few eggs and whatnot? Why the J Falcon, what clues? Like in the game or in here? Let's see. But I guess in the meantime, let me add the spray can in, because that's actually not hard to do. And I'm just like chilling here. The big one on the wall. I've tried the big one on the wall. That one doesn't seem to register either. But let's try it again. Why not? Let's try multiple times, because we can.
Hey there! Welcome to Skyjack. Please, hold your applause. When you're ready to start your epic, jaw-dropping, mind-blowingly insane, awe-inspiring adventure, stick that laser in my eye for a few seconds. Don't worry, I'll be fine.
Nothing's happening there.
Or you can just sit here. Hey, whatever tickles your fancy.
Display is gone, but pointing at you, still nothing. Pointing into you. Nope. Still
Whatever
nothing.
floats your boat.
Such the acts that you do when the Vive's broken. Nope, nothing there. Let's see.
Whatever cracks your egg.
holding on the trigger now. Nothing there.
Whatever seasons your taco.
Yep, I'm pressing all the buttons. It might just have been an update bug, but I think
whatever pickles your cucumber. You know, I really hate cucumbers.
Oh yeah, I've definitely heard those clues before. I don't know who he is yet. Oh, true. I do have to hold it there for a few seconds.
Hey there!
Let's try that.
Welcome to Skyjack.
Let's try that.
Please, hold your applause. When you're ready to start your epic, jaw-dropping, mind-blowingly insane, awe-inspiring adventure, stick that laser in my eye for a few seconds. Don't worry, I'll be fine.
Did I do it? Yes, I did it. Good.
Oh, look. The human survived. Why don't you make yourself useful? Pick up that thing on the ground.
What the hell is this?
Oh, that? That's just a gravitational quaternion kinetic energy multiplier.
A what?
A complex number of the form W plus XI plus YJ plus ZK, where W, X, Y, and Z are real numbers, and I, J, and K are imaginary units that satisfy certain conditions. It's a jetpack. You're gonna need fuel. I guess you can have some of mine. Oh, I almost forgot. That fuel can I just gave you, it'll only give you 5 seconds of continuous flight time. But thanks to the wonders of modern tech, it recharges pretty quick. Enough talk. You wanna go home, right? Well, I hope you're not afraid of heights, because it's all downhill from here.
Listening to a robot? This might be the dumbest thing I've ever done.
I bet you're wondering how you can hear me right now. It's almost like I'm inside your head. I went ahead and took the liberty of installing a small speaker in your ear. Now you can never escape the sound of my voice. You're welcome.
You went inside my ear? Did you go anywhere else?
Lucky for you, I'm not a health bot. Alright, I'm off. I hate caves. Lucky, I see you made it. While you were busy cave diving, I found something, well, unusual. I definitely think we should check it out. Come on.
Must be my lucky day.
And then you die.
Oh, my head.
And that's probably like about.
You survived that?
So
wow.
I'll leave it there.
Scout bots patrolling this far up? Who knew, right? They must be looking for something. Or someone.
Early beta.
Oh well.
I think it's
that fall must have knocked your fuel can loose. No elevation lift, huh? Here, I'll give you another.
The game is called Skyjack. I'm gonna just pull up the Steam page right now. Let's see, Skyjack Steam. I can't spell. The J. And it's not out yet, but it's basically what you have here is. Let me just pause the video. But the video kind of goes into like what they're building. But it's coming out holiday season, super awesome. It's a lot of it's this mix between storytelling and gameplay, which I really like. I think that's where kind of VR excels a little bit. So still really cool. What happened to me? Nice to meet. Audience here heard the things the player. Chat's a little delayed. I think that's probably because of the server. I think Amazon has some strange issues. We're using AWS, and I don't know why their server is laggy. Yeah, so we can officially paint the whale, and yeah. Again, I'll probably like if there are any questions, like let me know. Like in the next, I'll keep the stream going for like probably another 5 minutes. I can kill hard audio after the game. Oh yeah, I mean definitely. Like you'll definitely hear that audio for until I close it out, and I think I did close it out? Question mark. So doing VR IK rigging tutorial. IK for like characters, can. I don't know if it's like the IK, like the one concern I have is like, I think they came across this with hover junkers. It's like you don't want IK for if you're the first person, and just the reason for that is like IK doesn't look good enough. Like when you make these movements like this and like the IK response to you, just your hand controllers, it doesn't really look that good. It looks decent when it's on someone else. I personally haven't played around with it too much, but that's if it's on someone else, yeah, we can do that. Carl, the whole video is like recorded, so you can either rewind now or as soon as like the stream's over, it'll be saved. You can come back to it. But yeah, that as far as IK is concerned, I'll add it to the list. I think I guess like for a sneak peek, what I'm kind of planning at the moment. A lot of people on the forums have asked for this is multiplayer Steam VR. So I'm gonna try to. I'm working out the logistics of how to actually make that happen, but that's on the agenda, and like I think maybe part of that could be IK. So I'll let you know. It's funny. It's funny how the guest like you can reference each other by guest numbers. So yeah. Some nice examples. Yeah, Steam VR. I'll be honest. It's not the best documented thing. There are a few plugins coming out from like say Stone Fox or Newton VR, and then HTC even has their own plugin to build on top of Steam VR. So there are a lot of cool stuff, and I I wish there was just like a lot more integration with everything, because then it's not on the developer to like build, say, anti-aliasing or like certain control schemes into it. It's like teleportation is given to you. Like that's basically what the VR toolkit's giving. Once that becomes integrated with Steam VR, it's gonna be so cool. Oh, nice. That's awesome, Carl. That I need to get to know some of the names in the community. That's something I need to do. It's like, but still super cool. And it's like, yeah, I'm glad to have the Vive Spray dev in here, because that's really awesome. And I know a lot of people have been wanting to watch like how to build Vive Spray, but since the Vive Spray dev joined us, like I'll show you. Why don't we just kind of show him the basics of what has been built so far? I mean, it's not terribly fancy, but we can officially paint this whale with this color picker, and it's gonna go ham in here. I haven't like optimized anything as far as like the feel of it, but like you can like paint around here, add in like some black. It's like based on like how close you are. So it still needs a lot of love as far as like actually building out playing around with like the distance is concerned, and as well as also like as far as distance is concerned, and also like the alpha values, like when you zoom out here, those haven't really been optimized. And you get a lot of circles as opposed to like full out colors, but still definitely a lot of fun to play around with. As far as if you're an artist, like this is, you can like start building something and like customizing it however you want. And I think that's just kind of the point I wanted to drive across with this. Swoop, put those down. Fun to come in and learn. Yeah, I actually have it sitting on Steam also. I think it's definitely like the graffiti in there is definitely a lot better than what I'm showing here. And again, it's just kind of, this is just to get started, and then you just gotta customize it a bit more to like actually make it look really good. Oh, if I paint it like when I'm closer to it, you'll start to see the circles. I need to actually fill in the spacing in between. But if you're very far away, you'll see gaps. That's basically what happens to it. I'm actually curious, since we have the Vive Spray dev in here. Did you use? I know you used Unity, but did you use any of these like free assets? So like either one of, what is it? The real-time painting or this mesh painter here? I'd be curious to know if that's kind of how it was implemented. That was like my best guess at it. I was like, it's probably one of these two tools in my research. Yeah, I limit the rate of 1 unit. You can obviously increase it, but like that's the thing. Yeah, the dot effect is a thing. But that's awesome to have you in here. Like that makes me super excited as far as like seeing other devs. And yeah, interpolation. Yep, that's the way you got to do it. From the expert, we now know what next steps would be, and specifically, I'll just point that out in the code. So, and what you would want to do is save the UV position of the first input, and then whatever the current one is. So that would be probably done here. So you'd get you get it here, this UV world position, and you just want to interpolate specifically in between each of those points. That's, I think, probably the best way to do that. In your place differ, and whether or not you can learn something in there. Oh yeah, interpretation and implementation. Yep. Oh, you wrote a custom shader. Interesting. Got it. Yeah, I don't. This isn't even a shader. This is. So if you wrote your own custom shader, then this is definitely not the way that it's implemented in Carl's version. So like this is like from the tool we're using. It's basically using it's a raycast or it's a render canvas. So there's basically just the camera here renders it out into the camera preview. So like if I actually just quickly, I think this is playing. There we go. Yeah. So you can see here, this is basically what's happening. Is this thing captures it as a render canvas and then drops that onto the to the whale. Yep. So yeah, that's something that can be added at the shader level or even in the code level. Like I'm a yeah. Who am I kidding? The shader level is if you really want to get down to the optimizations level, it's the best way to do it. If you want to do quick prototyping, this is probably an easier way to do it. Tango spray. I want to see Tango spray. You could honestly probably. I don't know how you do this with the leap. That would be interesting. But there are definitely a bunch of options as far as where Vive spray and all of those types of genre of content creation is gonna go. So I'm excited. I want to see people like start building some cool stuff around this. But glad to have the Vive spray the Vive spray developers in here. That's super awesome. Thanks, thanks, Jay Falcon. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's like I basically want to. I'm just showing people like the easiest way to get started, and it's not obviously the most custom and most optimal way at times, but it's I think just as far as getting started is concerned. Actually, I think this one actually does use a custom shader, so maybe I just picked the wrong. I think I just probably picked the wrong package to use as far as like a GPU shader is concerned. But just like looking at this Mesh Painter plugin here, it seems like this is written with their own shader and a bunch of different assets that use it. So yeah, if you want to go the more optimal way, I think this is the right way to do it instead of this real-time painting. But as far as customizing real-time painting, I think it's just a bit easier. Yeah, it really doesn't scale. Well, around 2K. So this one, I need to figure out why, but this one, so basically if we jump into the code for this one, it basically what ends up happening is you have, so at 1K here, which is this max brush count here is set to 1K, it basically maps that onto this white texture here, and that's how they're basically able to save on the renders. And that I think scales, but for whatever reason the coloring doesn't look right when it does that. Not sure why that's the case, but something that I did notice happened. I'm still curious to kind of figure out why, but that's, yeah, at this point. Yeah, it's all about with Unity and like just VR development in general, it's really just about get something working. Once you do, then you can scale, make it look uber fancy, and get it growing. Yeah, as far as like shader, someone recommended. Can I remember? Web GPU shading? Is that a thing? I think is it this? Build and share. So I think you can do this live. Yeah. So I think if you just hop onto here, you could, in theory, I've never used this before. I saw a friend like kind of showed. This is just a comment. a friend I think it was this or yeah, there we go. So as far as like shader, if you just kind of want like a really real-time shading practice, I think this is probably a good way to go about it. So I guess shadertoy.com, and yeah, you can write your own shader, see it get affected in real time. I'm literally the worst at writing shader code. I have a very vague understanding of how it works, but for practice, yeah, this is I think a great website to look at. I'm wondering, I guess there are, yeah, you can like put in your own Nyan cat. That's a thing apparently. You can add music, add a bunch of different stuff, and just kind of play around here. So that's I think really cool and awesome. But yeah, I'll stick around. I think at this point I could add a, we have some custom assets as far as like the spray can's concerned. We could, if you want, let me do, one thing I'll do before closing out the stream is just kind of adding in a little particle effect, which I think just adds a level of, nice level of detail to it. So basically here, what I'm going to do is set the duration to 0.1, set the lifetime accordingly. The start speed, I think I'm going to drop down to 3. I'm like just trying to remember the settings I used last night off the top of my head. But so this is like 0.1 there. We don't need anything as far as that's concerned. Start colors, we'll basically be able to set from the color manager, which is nice. We're going to set the simulation space to world, so that basically means like when you move as soon as it's spawned, it's in world space, not connected to your controller, which is nice. Scaling mode doesn't really matter. Emissions, let's set to like 1,000 to match like the max particles. And for cone, yeah, I'd set this to cone. Set the radius at the beginning to like 0.1. And yeah, you can already kind of see the effect happening right there. And then just set this down to like 10 or so. And this could actually drop even more, like 0.01. Yeah, there we go. That's just like a little particle effect you can add to your controller. Nothing nothing terribly fancy there, and then you just you basically will add random direction in. But at this point, basically have like a quick little burst particle system. And so in the texture here, what we can do is go here, go to public particle system PS, and then what we'll do is on update we'll just say ps dot color start color equals brush color, and then we can just actually do ps dot play and then else ps dot stop. There we go. So just to control our little controller there. So that's cool. I think you do, so we can just make sure it's set to the right position really fast. So kind of, where's my controller? Why am I so zoomed out? Sometimes, oops. Is that the particle stream? Let's try this. Oh, I didn't even set the particle system. That's a mistake. Let's go to our texture painter here. Just go ahead and drag in our particle system. That's this guy, and we have the other guy here. All right. That's just going in the wrong direction. We can just rotate that really easily. So let's just go ahead and do that really fast. And that's pretty much just the particle system, which is what I wanted to show at the very end of this. And I think we just have to rotate it by 90 degrees. And the controller decides to fall on my face. Perfect timing. Yeah, there we go. And so yeah, basically now I have a particle system. As you can see about the world simulation, it just kind of flows kind of naturally. And again, like I said at the beginning, this isn't like fully optimized for like the distance away, but if you're like building something, that's really all you need here. And can just kind of fill this up, go to green, have it scaling close to here, and yeah, we can do some graffiti in VR. I'll click on those shader files, lots of tricks hidden in there. Yeah, so I guess Carl summarized it nicely, but for basically for shaders, like the main difference is you get to run on the GPU as opposed to CPU, and GPUs are just optimized for graphics because of the fact that they have so many cores. That allows you to run applications in parallel, and so you're talking on the road of like 1000x performance improvement, probably even more if the difference between running a CPU GPU. So that's huge. So like if your GPU is not busy with stuff like other rendering optimizations that are needing to be done for VR, like it's the right way to do it. Sometimes you might need to make some between, but like still really cool. But yeah, we have a particle system. I think if you update to the Unity 5.5 beta, they've put in some like cool optimizations for particles as well, which I think is really cool. Again, it's a beta, so like there are bugs. I know there will be bugs, but I think that's still, if that's something you want to explore as far as like doing some crazy wacky particle effects, like that's the place to do it. But yeah, I think at this point, kind of time to wrap up the stream, and yeah, I'll stick around in the chat while I'm deconstructing here. But again, let us know on the website if you have suggestions for future streams. We have a bunch already up there, which is super awesome. And if you have questions like about this stream, about VR development in general, you can post those in the questions tab on the website. And that's me or someone else in the community will definitely get back to you. And I think that's something I want to help facilitate as far as like questions for VR design, specifically around VR design, also like coding questions in general. But I think there's no good place for like VR design questions. Like Stack Overflow doesn't really cut it. So yeah, you can post questions there, and also you can follow us on social media. Definitely retweeting and adding a bunch of cool VR news. So you can, if you want to follow along there, you can do that too. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this stream, and I hope you guys enjoyed, learned something cool, and you can definitely learn from Carl too, because that's also really cool. But yeah, that's it for the stream. So hope you enjoyed, and this has been FusionEd, and I'm signing out. See you guys later.